On the Gamebridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to This Week in Ball State Sports, a Ball State athletics podcast, highlighting the Cardinals athletic teams and administration each week. Presented by Gamebridge. Here's the voice of the Cardinals, your host, Mick Tidrow.
Cardinals fans, we've already hit episode 14 of This Week in Ball State Sports. Thank you so much for your support and tuning in on Apple, Spotify. Hey, we're throwing these things up on YouTube now, so make sure to follow us and check out ballstatesports.com for all of the latest Ball State happenings. Also, don't forget your mailbag questions. We're not doing just Monday mailbag anymore. You can DM me at Mick Tidrow or any of our Ball State Sports accounts, and we'll have mailbag questions ready to go for when we talk with Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell or any of our guests throughout the weekly podcast. Jeff Mitchell joins us this week, as well as basketball, radio, and TV analyst David Eha to break down men's basketball, where they stand this year, how he has seen the development of this roster, and all of that. We'll also sit down with Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell next week and break down more football news and items from that standpoint. But today I wanted to focus really in on the new sport performance that Ball State is starting to put in with their athletic department and find ways to grow in that area. So that's one of the major focuses of today's podcast, Jeff Mitchell, and then with David Eha on the men's basketball side. We'll step aside, come back with Jeff. This is This Week in Ball State Sports, powered by Gamebridge from Learfield.
They fly down the court and fly through the air.
Left to right in transition, skies, flies, and dunks.
And we fly with the Cardinals.
Steal, top of the key, nobody in front of him, two-hand thunderous slam. Pearson left corner, eyes and flies, and drops.
This is your home for Ball State Cardinals basketball.
Buzzer sound, and they hang on with a defensive stand.
The Ball State Sports Network from Learfield.
Sometimes it's not the moment. It's the moment before the moment. The moment you make a choice. The moment you take control. The moment only you can own. Gamebridge lets you invest on your terms. So you're not only in charge of this moment, but all the moments to come. Start investing now at Gamebridge.io.
Hey, Cardinals fans, we're back inside episode 14 of This Week in Ball State Sports, and we're pleased to be joined by Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell to preview basketball, upcoming games, to look into the rearview mirror just a little bit with football, basketball, and hey, we have a ton coming up in January as schedules heat up outside of the basketball and swimming realms, indoor track. We have volleyball, gymnastics all coming as well. And Jeff, there is a volleyball team that is still going to be playing that resides in Muncie with some postseason tournament play.
Yeah, really excited about Coach Kelly Miller-Phillips and her talented team. They're a young group and have this opportunity to play in postseason in the NIBC. So they will play on Thursday night against Middle Tennessee State in Murfreesboro. They got invited as one of 32 teams to compete in this postseason tournament. And this tournament is essentially like the NIT in basketball. So they did not have the resume for an NCAA tournament bid, but did have the resume to play in this secondary postseason tournament. I think it's great for our group that they have this opportunity to compete, to try to win a postseason tournament. But just the opportunity to participate is meaningful for the group of seniors that are on our team, but more importantly for the individuals, the underclassmen that are continuing to grow and develop. They've got a great group that's coming in as a freshman class. Inevitably, I'm sure in today's world there'll be transfers and all, with the portal, but the foundation's there for our women's volleyball program, and I'm excited about their future. And this tournament opportunity will be significant towards continuing to build.
And Jeff, the respect that Ball State women's volleyball has garnered from across the country to be accepted into this tournament, also a huge point of emphasis as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the brand is very strong, and so to have a postseason tournament without Ball State in it, it would be a travesty. So I'm glad that's not the case, and that we are in and participating. There's some energy and enthusiasm around participating in this tournament. I've traded some messages with Coach Phillips last night, and she's really excited. The seniors in particular are really excited, but the program as a whole is excited about it, and I'm supportive and look forward to it. I'm going to go down and cheer them on, so I look forward to seeing them play on Thursday.
Jeff, before we get to some of the other sports, you talk about the word supportive. That's one thing that you are trying to do across the board for so many areas, and one of those, sport performance. Some things being done in that realm. Can we share what is coming down the pipe?
Yeah, so we are embarking on building a brand new sport performance center. I do not know whether that's going to be the ultimate name of the center, but in that vein, it is going to be a brand new state-of-the-art weight room. We're going to have some other elements in there that are going to help our speed and power. I'm trying to rebrand strength conditioning as speed and power. Championship performance is a mindset. And with Lindsey Blom's hire as our Associate Athletic Director for Championship Performance, who's overseeing all of these elements of sports medicine, power and speed, nutrition, and mental health, we are doing something that we haven't done here before in terms of elevating and focusing on what it takes to produce championship teams. A center where we can train and produce the quality student athlete that we're looking for, especially from the physical side, is central to that end. And so we need a new sport performance center. Our current weight room is, quite frankly, inadequate. And it resides in Worthern. It's been the same size with the same weights, the same exercises for a long time. Now, our student athletes are putting in their work, and they are growing and developing, but we want them to do it in a new space that has the latest and greatest exercise equipment to fully develop them as athletes. So we owe it to them to do that. So we're excited about this project, working with some donors right now, working on the broader vision for what this facility will look like, and there's some momentum behind it right now. So really looking forward to continuing to talk about it and put it out there for people that want to get excited and help us build it. But we're building our own momentum in this front, and looking forward to getting this thing done.
How do these projects come together?
Well, to be fair, this project has been talked about for a while now, and even preceded my arrival. I have continued to work with members of our development team to see if there was feasibility behind getting donors to back it, and there is, and then working with our coaches and our power and speed staff and our sports medicine staff to think about what we need to do in order to build a facility that is going to really cater to the needs of our student athletes. So a lot of conversation, a lot of research, a lot of work with our campus master planning folks. Jim Lowe is solely responsible. I'll give him all the credit. I mean, there's a team of individuals, but Jim is such the visionary for what campus looks like. And so building a facility that's going to be adjacent to the Shondell Practice Center is no small undertaking, and we've got some internal renderings now of what that might look like. So there's just a lot of planning that goes involved, and then there's getting the donor support, and we'll get into programming the space down the line. But right now, we're starting to talk about it a little bit more publicly and get people excited about it, get our coaches excited about it, our student athletes, and ultimately we can recruit with it because it's going to be a project that's going to come to fruition.
Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Jeff, going down this path with the Sport Performance Center and in the early stages of all of it, but how vital is it to have this come to fruition to be where you want to be in the Mid-American Conference and across the country from an athletic department standpoint?
It'll be a game changer for us competitively within the Mid-American Conference, and certainly will position us to have one of the best facilities around, certainly in the league, but also nationwide. And in my research, I think we can be very competitive with the type of building that we are envisioning. We're talking about over 10,000 square feet of brand new space, right, which more than doubles the size of our current weight room. In addition to that, and what I failed to mention just a minute ago in the answer, Mick, is that we will also completely repurpose the current weight room in Worthern and make it a brand new state-of-the-art sports medicine center, complete with a hydrotherapy area. So things we don't have right now and things we will have in the future, and I'm excited about that. And I think that very much is a game changer for us as a department. Will make us more competitive, will help us in attracting the caliber student athlete that we want to be here, and then we continue to develop them into champions, and that's all under the umbrella of this championship performance, which not only is a new entity that we have developed here, but it's also a mindset that we're bringing every day in Ball State athletics.
Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Jeff, the football season is wrapped up. Cardinals are done for the season on the gridiron and look forward to 2024. But as it currently stands, how would you sum up the football season?
Well, we certainly are disappointed in our record, and something that we aspire to be better going forward, and look forward to debriefing that in a future episode.
Men's basketball, women's basketball, both off to 5-1 starts, Jeff, and a chance for them to continue that surge. Men's basketball on the road in Arkansas, taking on Little Rock. But how have you seen those two programs pole vault themselves to a combined 10-2 start?
Well, they're well coached, and they're playing very hard. And I think you can control your attitude, you can control your effort, and then you allow yourself to be coached. And I think on the women's side in particular, they are continuing to improve. Ran into a buzzsaw against 17th ranked Notre Dame. They're in that ballpark, right? There were a couple of rankings had them at 14th or 15th, but a very good Notre Dame team coming into Worthen on Friday, and we didn't play well. I think that's an objective statement, Mick. However, I think we are a very good basketball team, and I think we're very well coached. And I think our future is exceptionally bright this season as we go forward. They will use that loss as a learning opportunity, and will stay strong as they continue to go through the season. Got some challenges coming up as well, against the likes of Georgia and UConn. And I think that, I like our chances as we attack the season. On the men's side, our guys play really hard, and that's a byproduct of them having great attitudes, of them giving maximum effort. It's something I know that Coach Lewis is preaching to them, and they've beaten some good teams. They've also lost to a really good team in Evansville. Evansville's undefeated on the year, 6-0.
What, they're one of 24 undefeated teams left in basketball?
It's not many, so that's an accomplishment, and credit to them. We're going to have to learn how to play on the road, and so we've got some tests coming up that are going to help do that. But this is a young team on the men's side that is very coachable, and so I'm very pleased with their performance thus far. I really appreciate Coach Lewis's attitude with them and how he's approaching developing and coaching them, because it's probably a little bit of a departure from how he would normally coach a team, but he recognizes that they're young and inexperienced and growing and developing, and he's seeing some really positive things out of them, and so you got to cater to that. And so he's doing a really good job, in my opinion, of how he's bringing that team along. So I'm excited to continue to watch them as they grow and develop. And it's really the same thing on the women's side, too. So how great is it for us as a fan of Ball State men's women's basketball to watch these two teams as they conclude the first third of their season, getting to the back end of conference or non-conference play, and as we gear up for what promises to be an exciting Mid-American Conference season.
That season starts in January. A lot of other happenings taking place in January as well. Men's volleyball starts the season here coming up soon. Gymnastics not too far away. Indoor track and field also. There is a ton of momentum outside of just basketball going on in Ball State right now too.
It just keeps coming, Mick, and it's exciting. We go into this holiday season, preparing for gymnastics, preparing for indoor track and field, preparing for men's volleyball, and tennis season will start on both the men's and women's side in January as well. So it's certainly an exciting time. Credit to our coaching staffs for the excitement and the work that they're putting in to prepare those teams to start in the winter season. A lot to cheer for right now.
There's a little bit of a less home stretch with the events in December. We had a huge push in November with football, men's, women's basketball, other sports also. But December, a lot of teams on the road, and then that calm of mostly just basketball and track taking place with swimming during December. Feels like things will simmer for a minute and then pick right back up in January.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. It's helpful for our staff. I mentioned in the last episode, Mick, that I'm grateful for our staff and all the work that they do. They've had a long fall with a lot of events, and they have done great. I never hear a complaint. They're always working diligently. That's an attitude and effort controllable too, right? You can control your attitude, you can control your effort. They show up and have that good attitude and that great effort, but they need a break, and I want them to have a break. And the schedule does line up for us where we don't have a women's basketball game at home until December 30th, which is an unusual stretch away from home. And we have a few home games on the men's side. Our next one, of course, is this Saturday at 2 p.m. against Bellarmine. But there's about a 10-day, almost a 2-week gap where we don't have an event at all, and it happens to coincide with the Christmas holiday. So our staff to be able to take a deep breath and rest and relax is important to me as we continue to fuel a culture here that is based in service for our coaches and our student athletes and putting on first-class events for our community. But the people that are exercising all of that discipline to put on those great events need some downtime too. And so I'm happy that the schedule works out for that.
Jeff, is there anything else you want Ball State fans to know here on episode 14 of This Week in Ball State Sports before we let you off the hook?
It's not slowing down. It's even as we get into these Christmas holidays. So I continue to encourage the support and really appreciate the support this past weekend at basketball. We had over 4,000 in attendance for our men's game against Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then we had a school arena record for a women's basketball game in Worthen with over 5,400 fans in attendance to watch Ball State play Notre Dame. Grateful for our fans and the community to come out and support women's basketball in that way, and we'll continue to stack that. We've got some great matchups coming up during conference play too, especially on the women's side. So continuing to generate this momentum that we can control, and it's a great venue, right? And it's warm. As the weather changes, it's a warm place to come in and enjoy some quality entertainment. So look forward to our fans coming out and supporting us.
You heard him. 888-BSU-TICKET. Visit the ticket office, ballstatesports.com. Find your tickets, check the schedules, and be a part of the action all season long in Worthen Arena. Jeff, appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Mick, thank you so much. Go Cards.
They fly down the court and fly through the air.
Left to right in transition, skies, flies, and dunks.
And we fly with the Cardinals.
Steele, top of the key, nobody in front of him, two-hand thunderous slam. Pearson, left corner, eyes and flies, and drops.
This is your home for Ball State Cardinals basketball.
Buzzer sounds, and they hang on with a defensive stand.
The Ball State Sports Network from Learfield.
Sometimes it's not the moment. It's the moment before the moment. The moment you make a choice. The moment you take control. The moment only you can own. Gainbridge lets you invest on your terms. So you're not only in charge of this moment, but all the moments to come. Start investing now at Gainbridge.io.
Welcome back inside This Week of Ball State Sports. We're joined by the Ball State legend, David Ehi, here on the podcast, talking some Ball State men's basketball. E, appreciate you as always, man.
Hey, appreciate you having me, Mick.
So, David, we've hit the point of where 6 games are in the books. Ball State's played 5 home games, just 1 road game up to this point. But 2 pretty big wins last week against USC Upstate and University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. How did you see Ball State respond after that Evansville game?
Yeah, I think they responded really well. I mean, it's easy to look at the teams' names of who they played and say, well, and their record. But, honestly, I thought both of those ball clubs are going to compete in their league. And I thought they were good matchups for the Cardinals. And it was a good bounce back week. Like you said, after Evansville, you wanted to get that taste out of your mouth. And I thought the Cards did that. And in particular, I thought it was a phenomenal week for Mickey Pearson. You talk about guys stepping up in new roles. And I thought nobody stepped up bigger this past week than Mickey. You know, a career high 24. Then he came back with 17 in the last game, 4 made triples. So I think that was huge for this ball club, and that's just going to give Mickey more and more confidence as we head into league play.
How have you seen Mickey's confidence and his growth on display so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, I just see him being more aggressive. You know, Mickey was the guy. He's been a great cutter, and he's taken a lot of advantage of the attention guys like Peyton Sparks got last year. But what I see now is Mickey being more aggressive. He's 6'7", so you know if he has a smaller guy, he has the ability to post up. He can raise up from mid-range. And oh, by the way, you leave him open at the 3-point stripe, he'll bang it in there. And you got to give him all the credit. I mean, what he did, Mick, by going home 2 summers ago and changing his entire shot, and the numbers that he's putting up now from a percentage standpoint across the board, whether it's field goal percentage, 3-point shooting, and free throw, has skyrocketed. And so you got to give him all the credit because he put the work in and now he's seeing the dividends.
The mid-range game for Mickey's opened up as well. We've talked about that throughout the course of the season, just the development from that side. So seeing what he's done, you mentioned changing the shot and improving there, has been ultra efficient. You mentioned the bounce back against Arkansas Pine Bluff and USC Upstate. What did you think about in that last game against Pine Bluff that really stood out?
Well, it was one of those situations where you learn on the fly, right? The first half, coach wasn't happy with obviously the defense and the turnovers. And so how can you adjust in the second half? And they came out and did exactly what he preached at halftime. The defense stiffened. They were much more patient on offense, took much better care of the basketball. And so the trick is, Mick, how do you eliminate those first halves where the coaches give you the scouting report, you maybe don't follow it? It was great to bounce back in the second half, but now the key is how do you minimize those stretches? So instead of a bad 20 minutes, maybe it's only the first 5 or first 8, and you make that adjustment on your own in the first half.
With the young team trying to find that, how do you see that working?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is you just have to go through it, right? As many times coaches can preach all they want, but you've got to live it. You've got to be a point guard, and all of a sudden team's going to throw a full court press on you that maybe you weren't prepared for. You've got to go through the scouting reports, you know, and again, as a young guy, it is so much more detailed now than it was when they were in high school. And so maybe now when a guy drains, you know, 3 or 4 triples from 28 feet, and you look back, you know what, that scouting report, it was right there for me. Maybe I need to pay more attention. So it's little things like the finer details and everything from the scout to practice, that over time it's going to become second nature, where now there's a lot of firsts.
How are you seeing this young team, though, come together so fast?
Thing that pleases me the most is the way they've bought into defense. On any given night, you may or may not make shots, right? But you have to buy into the defensive side of the court. And oftentimes that's an area where particularly young guys struggle most. And let's face it, in this day and age of the portal, when you got a lot of new guys getting people, everybody wants to score. The way you win basketball games is you play good defense and you rebound. And so to me, that's where I've seen the growth of this team. They are really connected. They're locked in defensively. And like I said, you may or may not make shots, but you're one of the top 100 teams in the nation right now on defense. You're one of the top 20 defending the 3. You know, if you can be consistent in those areas, then you're going to have a chance to win your share of games.
What are you noticing about that perimeter defense thus far?
I noticed the athleticism of this group. I think it's a quicker, more athletic group than maybe you had before. You don't have maybe as big of bodies, but I think your athleticism on the defensive end and the quickness is there. Guys are able to contest on the 3-point shot. They're able to help and recover because of that athleticism. So I think, I think this is a team that's certainly better able to keep guys in front of them off the dribble. To me, that's where the athleticism shows. Now, you still have some young guys where you're going to get matched up against a veteran, and it could be a long night. But look, that's going to happen. It's college basketball.
How about Ben Hendricks? Last
How
two games in
about it,
specific.
right? How about it? I mean, you got to love it, Mick, right? Because this kid, I call him a kid. He's been here 5 years, but he's everything you want in a student athlete that represents your university. He is a great teammate. If you see him interact with the fans before or after the games, you're on the road trip now. I'll be there tomorrow. He's always one of the most pleasant kids. He works as hard as anybody, doesn't complain. And you know what? He's probably as healthy as he's been in his whole career, and he's getting an opportunity and he's taking advantage of it. And so I think it's huge for the Cardinals, because when you go to this big lineup now, I think that helps a great deal. And I was looking at the stats in prep for tomorrow. How about this, Mick? In Ben's first 39 games, he had 7 block shots. He has 6 blocks in the last 4 games as well.
Say that again. Say that again.
7 blocks in his first 39 games. He has 6 block shots in the last 4.
Difference.
And so, having a rim protector allows you to maybe play a little bit tighter on the perimeter. But I'm just super happy for Ben. And look, his confidence is just going to continue to grow and grow. So I love it when guys get an opportunity and seize it. And I couldn't be more happy for anybody than I am Ben.
How valuable is it to have somebody that's shown that much patience to be able to persevere and get through that?
Well, I think it's huge, right? And I'm kind of old school. My personal feeling, Mick, is you just don't see as much of it. It's way too easy now for somebody to jump ship or go into the portal if they're not playing as much as they think they should as a freshman, or something's not going their way. I love it when somebody deals with adversity head on and they go to work and they stick it out, and then they see the fruits of that labor. So for me, it's kind of old school, and you miss it, man. You miss seeing guys develop from youngsters, being with the program, getting to know them over time. But more than anything, I think it shows the willingness to stick through adversity. Life isn't always going to be easy, right? So, for Ben Hendricks to stick with it and now have it pay off, I love those type of stories, and I don't think you see them as much anymore.
That also creates such a different type of front court now for Ball State, doesn't it?
Oh, without question. I mean, if you think about just the offensive rebounding opportunities that, I think Ben had 4 offensive rebounds the other day. Bashir had 4. Mickey's going to get the scraps. But, the other thing is having a bigger guy can create mismatches for others, because somebody's going to have to guard Bashir Jihad, right? And so if you want to guard him with a taller player, then you're going to leave a guy like Ben Hendricks alone on the weak side where he can make some hay. So I think it helps you definitely from a rebounding standpoint, and I think it can create some mismatches. And the other thing too is it buys Jihad and Pearson a little bit of help as it relates to not getting in foul trouble, right? I mean, Ben can come in and maybe guard the 5-man if Bashir gets in foul trouble. So it helps from that standpoint as well.
David Ehad joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. David, we've talked a lot about what this year's roster looks like and how things are changing, improving throughout the season. Ball State's next opponent, Little Rock, here in Arkansas. It's a team that's 2-4 up to this point in the season, now to the OVC. What do you see from their roster that could challenge Ball State?
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. Their leading scorer, KK Robinson, did not play in their win against Tulsa. And I'm trying to find out what the situation was there. Now, that was a big win at home against a pretty good Tulsa team. So they're like every other mid-major. They've got some Power 5 transfers. They've got some mid-major transfers, and they've mixed in a few freshmen. The thing that jumps out to me, Mick, in looking at them is they're still struggling defensively. Last year, they were one of the worst teams in the nation as far as defense goes. And so they were in a lot of close games, but couldn't close them out. And so as I look at their statistics this year, they're still giving up a ton of points. They're not great shooters from the perimeter. And they also put their opponents at the foul line quite a bit. Now, what I do see from them and what this past week will be beneficial, they play a very similar style to what the Cardinals saw with USC Upstate and Pine Bluff. These guys like to get out. They like to run. They will full court press. They will mix up their defenses. So it's very similar to what the Cardinals saw last week, which should be beneficial.
David Ehad joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports, previewing Ball State against Little Rock on the men's basketball side and looking at the team as a whole this season. Safe travels down here to Little Rock. We'll see you soon, and appreciate you jumping on the podcast as always, my friend.
Sounds good, Mick. See you in Arkansas, baby.
That's David Ehad joining us on This Week in Ball State Sports. That wraps up this edition of the episode 14. Been flying by so far this year. If you want to see Ball State basketball in action, check out ballstatesports.com and call 888-BSU-TICKET for more information. Thanks for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Learfield, powered by Gamebridge.
Thanks for listening to This Week in Ball State Sports, presented by Gamebridge. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Gamebridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network.